First, Ms. Perino. She appeared on NPR's aptly named quiz show Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me over the weekend, relating the story of how she was recently caught off guard when, at a White House briefing, she was asked about President Putin of Russia, comparing the U.S. missile defense system to the Cuban Missile Crisis.
And so I got asked about the Cuban Missile Crisis, and I was panicked a bit because I really know about nothing about the Cuban Missile Crisis.
It was just last week.
It had to do with Cuba and missiles.
Yes.
Pretty sure. Well, I came home and I asked my husband.
Yeah.
I said, wasn't that like the Bay of Pigs thing? And he said, oh, Dana.
And thus a new refrain for the last throes of the Bush administration has been born. Oh, Dana. The same Dana Perino, by the way, who was recently described as by Bush's brain, Karl Rove, as having, quote, a really sharp mind, fine judgment, and being, quote, one of the most talented professionals I've ever seen, one of our great American treasures. Let's turn now to comedian Christian Finnegan, who's also a regular contributor to VH1's Best Week Ever. Christian, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Well, as you heard there, Dana Perino did not know that the Cuban Missile Crisis had something more to do than just with Cuba and missiles.
And a crisis.
And it was a crisis, and it wasn't the Bay of Pigs. Are we being too hard on her?
Well, yeah, especially since her lacking historical perspective is how she got her job in the first place. I mean, she put it right there in the resume, not encumbered with facts. It was in the special skills section.
So now we know why she's good at not knowing what's happening in Washington or international relations or denying knowledge or playing dumb even, right?
Exactly. I mean, you know, she actually thought the Bay of Pigs was when U.S.-backed forces swept in and stole Castro's super-secret Cuban sandwich recipe.
And the corn on the cob, too. What I don't get is this. Maybe she really is dumb, but you still have to work on admitting nothing. Head down, run into wall, refuse to admit there was a wall. Why, of all things, did she admit to not knowing one of the pivotal pieces of American history rather than admitting something else?
Who can say? You know, it's a riddle wrapped inside a mystery, wrapped inside Dana.
Yeah, that's you were about to quote the famous French politician Churchill, I think.
Yeah.
She's also been credited for coining this phrase, once a Bushy, always a Bushy. So we're expecting like a 12-volume set on the history of the Bush administration by Dana Perino, or a book of poetry, or a pop-up book. What is she going to produce at the end of this?
We can only hope, man. It's funny because once a Bushy, always a Bushy sounds more like an excuse. Like, hey, sorry, I signed on early. I had no idea. Don't blame me. And if it is true that you're always a Bushy, then I encourage Bushies to wear a scarlet bee around so they can be easily identified in the future.